Tonight, we focus on the Sharia ban debate triggered by reported pressure from the United States of America on Nigerian authorities to ban the Islamic legal system recognized in parts of Nigeria's constitution. The move has angered many Muslims and stirred wider arguments about Nigeria's secular status, sovereignty, and what the constitution allows. Joining us is a constitutional lawyer and public affairs analyst, Barrister Buhari Yusuf, to break it all down. Barrister, you are welcome to the program.
To be with you, my brother.
Yeah, first, before we delve into these issues, yes. There was an attempted coup earlier today in Benin Republic, and briefly the soldiers, the mutineers, so to speak, breached the presidential palace and also reportedly took over the national radio station, television station. But thankfully, the coup has been at least controlled, and the government is back in power after this temporary hiatus. What can you say to us? What can you say to Nigerians about that? What's your impression?
My fear for West Africa and my fear for West Africa again is becoming terribly disturbing. Actually, democracy is not deepening its roots, and possibly because of the behavior this time around of the politicians. Democracy used to be threatened by the military, but this time around it's the conduct and behavior of the politicians that is eliciting this kind of miasma and possibly political upheavals. The agitation, the restiveness around West Africa has manifested in different stratas. And I think the earlier we think of how to arrest the drift, the better for us. And it's not about arresting this coup, as it were, but finding a ground that will germinate the growth of democracy and, of course, make coup unattractive. This is the only, I think, position that will forestall this. It was 1, now 2, 3, and the 4th about to take place today. And I think that we should up the ante. Otherwise, now certain smell of 1960s, early 70s, and the rest of them is beginning to ferment our political landscape.
Yeah, there were reports that Nigeria sent, aircrafts, jets, attack aircrafts, ground attack aircrafts, to monitor the situation into the Benin Republic, What do you make of that? Don't you think there are sovereignty and issues surrounding that?
I would like to make a comment, but advisedly. Any deployment from our military platforms must follow the protocol of legislation and other, protocols. I don't know what really happened because Benin Republic, the last I know about it, I think it's a sovereign country, and we should be very careful. This is not a time for the adventure of Sierra Leone and Liberia. This is a different period, a different time, when the precepts and normative of democracy are taking shape, and we should be very careful. I think this deployment should have served better if they were internally deployed into our internal insecurity and the problems we have. So I want to say something advisedly, because I think it's a position or it's a report that has not yet been authenticated. But if it is true, then I think I don't think.
Okay, let's get to our issue of today.
Yeah.
You all know, sometime last week there were reports that some Nigerians tried to put pressure on the American government, the Congress, and the executive of the American government to try to get Americans to pressure the Nigerian government to ban the Shari'a and other Islamic practices like the Hizbah and all that. Yeah. And of course, this necessitated statements from American officials to the extent that they have asked the Nigerian government to look into that as part of their request and demands to the Nigerian government, in order to stave off the impending intervention in Nigeria. What do you say that, as a constitutional effort, what really does the Constitution say about freedom of religion?
Well, we shouldn't forget the fact that Shari'a courts, or the judiciary of judicial power and the jurisdiction of Shari'a, is reflected in our Constitution, 260 up to 265 of our Constitution, with the combined reading of other sections. About its legality is a matter that has been settled. It has been consistently part of every constitution of Nigeria post-1979 or post-1960s constitution. Therefore, it's constitutional.
You're saying that it's a no-go area?
It's a no-go area. Not only is it a no-go area.
Even in this situation that we have this looming threats and insecurity, and the Americans are saying it's one of the issues that we should look at, consider, so that there won't be any. I
think I should give a little context specification. Possibly the history of Sharia. Sharia is older than Nigeria. Sharia predates Nigeria. In fact, it is part of the legal legacy that the British colonial masters inherited. The practice of Sharia in northern Nigeria has been on for close to 700 years. Therefore, it's older than any legal system in Nigeria. So we are not talking about an innovation of 30 years, 40 years, or 50 years. In fact, the protocol that that was consistent with Nigerian amalgamation, northern Nigerian amalgamation with the South, was that consensus, was that agreement that Sharia and other components of the northern legal system will be enshrined in the overall legal structure of the post-1914 Nigeria. So when a lot of positions are postulated along the line of this genocide politics is just about religion, targeting Islam as a competing partner against imperial search, against imperial domination. And therefore, that opportunity comes. But unknown to those, to the people peddling this, the issue of Sharia is settled. It's not a matter that can be revisited. But again, sometimes when you look at the debate, you begin to ask yourself, is our legal system, the common legal system we are using, is it not religious? It is. It is built on Judeo-Christian values and concepts. This legal system that we are operating, it is canon in origin and in content.
Yeah, but some people are saying we cannot have two legal systems in the country. We have, well, some are saying we have the canon law, I mean the canon law, which is our normal there, and then we should have just one, not not juxtapose it with the Sharia law. Then we should just have just one.
Then the argument and the agitation against the polarity of our federation is defeated. Even American judicial system is not one-line system. There are states in America that are still upholding to capital punishment, and there are others that don't. So, in fact, the presence of Sharia reinforces the position of federal spirit. Certain part of this country are for this certain part, but nationally, we have a system that is historically based on religion too. And again, the colonial master took into consideration these historical contradictions and therefore allows the Islamic system to thrive. In fact, it was no way. That informed the reason why indirect rule was introduced in the North, because the system was near complete. We have semblance of state structures, including robust judicial system that has been there for close to 700 years.
But the argument being put forward by some proponents is that, look, This thing is ancient, it's primitive. We're living in times now where it is almost impossible to cut off somebody's hands for what and all that. And that even Sharia in practice in northern Nigeria was selective. It was more on the poor than on the rich. And now, with the insecurity and all kinds of things happening, people are saying, look, let us see about, tweaking some of the issues that comes with Sharia, so as to give, to allow for the plurality of the country, so as to allow for the country to at least, because now we have a lot of people from all parts of Nigeria living and working in those Sharia compliant states. Why should they be under that kind of system when they are not Christians and they do not believe in the Sharia?
Loaded question. You see, first of all, in the same system that is of Judeo-Christian values, it allows for capital punishment of hanging human being, not cutting his hand. This time around, hanging him or shooting him. So let's leave that.
No, let's break it up.
Yes, in certain part of America, up to today, there is lethal injection. There is killing by hanging. So, I think
gas chamber.
Yes, there is gas chamber. So I think we should run away from this political correctness. And again, the expansion of Sharia application from graduating from personal issues to criminal aspects that were expanded by the respective state assemblies, they legalize the process. It's validated by the legislation that has taken place. And again, the beauty of it all is that it affects a Muslim who submit to it. First of all, you are not a Muslim if you refuse to submit to Sharia. You are not a Muslim. It's just like talking to a Christian, telling him, don't believe in divinity of Christ, don't believe in Trinity, don't believe in this. He is not a Christian. So we should understand that Sharia is fundamental in the practice of Islam. Remove Sharia, you disband Islam. So how do you do it? And the beauty of it, like I said at the beginning, is that it is, reserved for only Muslims that consent to its application. Somebody might ask this question: what about if there is a dispute between a Muslim and maybe possibly a Christian or a non-Muslim? Conventional court takes precedent. You cannot coerce anybody outside of a Muslim to Sharia court. Look at the constitution, the section that establishes Sharia. So this fear is not just there. Maybe the argument would come: we've forgotten that Nigeria is a secular state. We have never been secular. Nigeria has never been secular.
But the Americans have waded into the matter. They have more or less demanded, that we dismantle Sharia courts and Sharia.
I think this narcissistic, hubristic posture should be resisted by Nigerians. We are not the 52nd or 51st state of America. Americans are doing a lot of things that are wrong. They are exporting arsenals of murder, mutiny, and what have you. We've not asked them to stop. So they don't have the right.
I also know that in America, some states reserve the right to practice the denominations of their choice. For instance, in Pennsylvania, it's the Quakers.
Yes.
In Wisconsin, it's the Lutherans.
Yes.
In, Utah, the Mormons.
Yes.
In New York and other places, they're all denominations. And these are allowed.
And the total sum is now being dominated by the far-right Anglican base in America. America is no longer a secular country too. If that is what they practice and they allow it constitutionally, why would they want to say Nigeria must follow what they're saying? While back home in America, it's not the... Because when we were designated, we acted on panic. We deployed this panic euphoria, and they've taken advantage of it. But let me tell you, Trump is not talking about protection of Christians. Trump is typically a transitional leader, and therefore he wants Nigerian government around him to tell them what to do, for America to argumentate. We have gone against American principle on so many routes. First, we voted in support of Palestine in the last UN General Assembly. We are becoming very strong in our opposition to American trade. We are going China, we are going France, and the rest of them. That was when they dusted this idea of CPC. But Saudi Arabia was designated much earlier than us. Today, America doesn't have a serious partner, a lucrative partner, if I put it this way, in the in Middle East like Saudi Arabia. The Crown Prince was in America last week or last 2 weeks. Look at the red carpet. But it's a designated country. But we
So in other words, you're saying it's a matter of double standard?
Yes, no. And again, we acted in panic. We become too concerned. More than 8 states have been so designated. They refuse to make it a news. But Nigerians all of a sudden were sending this, sending that. And of course, they got us what were housed before them. And therefore, they were dictating to us until they are now dictating an impossibility. They can dictate anything they want. But the issue of Shari'a, honestly, is a no-go area. And I want those people that are talking against the position of the constitutionality of Shari'a to read the history of the making of 1999 Constitution, the negotiation, the mediation, the contestation. So, but those people were wise enough to understand that the Constitution will not be drafted if the issue of Shari'a was not addressed.
No, but now we are faced with existential issues regarding the insecurity. It's not just a matter of localized issues now. It has become international. The world is now, very interested in what's happening. They're making a lot of, putting a lot of pressure on the Nigerian government and to say, look, hey, these are the root causes of insecurity, and one of them is your practice of Sharia, which provides a platform for religious practices that are not in tandem with modern ways, and so these things are.
No.
So what they are saying is that, look, you need to be able to consider in the self-enlightened interest of your country, because a substantial part of your population do not agree with it.
Yes.
Can't you, for the sake of,
substantial part of the Nigerian population, the bigger part of it, do not subscribe to Judeo-Christian values, but they consent to it, they agree. Today we are administered with it, the canon law. And again, I want to say this, please. We are not to be dictated, and we should stop appearing quite desperate. We should refuse being intimidated. We are a sovereign country. And I know Trump is not serious about protection of Christianity as the way people are thinking of. No, the man is talking about business. And I told you, I mentioned about 8 countries that are so designated, so more than 30 years. What have they done to them? And again, you talk about modern. Sharia is modern. Sharia is more sophisticated in law than the conventional laws. It's more fairer. It is justice-based more than any legal theory that you know. And a lot of non-Muslims are today going to Sharia courts, but with consent. You have to write a consent. A lot of them, particularly those in civil issues, debt and what have you. And then look at it. The sophistication of Sharia guarantees the right to and for everybody in a society. And therefore, it's not the issue. It has been, like I said, more than 700. Are we just realizing that Sharia is part of our problem? And how? I asked the question, how?
But even in Muslim countries or Muslim-dominated countries,
yes,
some of the provisions of Sharia
Yes.
are not fully, they have tweaked it. For instance, countries like Turkey, Turkey,
Yeah.
I've been there. Countries like Egypt,
Yes.
a lot of these countries have sort of, even in the Gulf states,
Yes.
and even Saudi, they are trying to tweak some of these provisions to be able to keep up with what is happening in today's world.
I think...
Can't we also consider doing that in Nigeria?
No, I think you are not talking about the foundational Sharia. You cannot change God's laws. You can't. Can Saudi Arabia today says that we are legalizing stealing?
But they're legalizing things like alcohol.
Well, I have not seen it. I have heard it. I tried to Google it to see, and there are a lot of propagandas going on. So I wait until when I see that. And again, we are not Muslim because the expectation from us is to copy from Saudi Arabia. Please, Saudi Arabia is not the standard precept. It's not the standard normative of Islam. Islam is a religion. It's not about Arabs. We have Arab Christians. We have Arab Jews. And therefore, to standardize your practice of Islam, you don't look up to Saudi Arabia.
Who do you look up to then?
You look at the books. You look at the Quran. You look at the Sharia, at the Sunnah, and what have you. Standard more than 1,400 years ago. So we should
Would you say, as a Muslim, would you say that the practice of Sharia has been even or has been done the way, the way it's provided for? That is to say, for instance, we knew that at some point here in this country, a certain state, introduced Sharia, and on that basis, certain practices, certain punishments, or certain convictions, or rather, were done. For instance, a gentleman who was, found to have stolen a cow, and his hands were sort of cut off.
Yes.
And at that time, it created a lot of controversy. A lot of states were, especially in the southern part of the country, were up in arms again. And then when the matter came up to the president at that time, President Obasanjo, he said, look, this is a political Sharia, and that it will soon fizzle out.
You see, the confusion is confusing Sharia as a system, and then the conduct of a human being that is expected to implement Sharia on the other hand. The system remains perfect, but the conduct of human being, of course, is not even near perfect. So the misconduct of a human being to apply the normative practice of Sharia and his failures cannot be attributed to Sharia. This legal system is open to manipulation, more open, more porous than the Sharia system.
But let me bring you to this point.
Yes.
In some of the states that are practicing or have been practicing Sharia, we found people, highly placed people, government people, found involved in corrupt practices, for which they should have been, the law of Sharia should have been applied on them. But invariably, some of these people escape the justice, and they don't even, nobody even mentions them. But but where it concerns the ordinary man, that is where the full weight of the Sharia has been applied. What can you say about this contradiction?
Of course there are. And just like I said, this common legal system that we operate has these porous areas for manipulation and advantage taking. But is the system, is the fault with the system? No. But with who? The administrator of the system. I agree with you. When you go to states that are supposed to be practicing Sharia, you see a lot of things. But again, there are limitations in application of Sharia, because there are states that have not expanded their Sharia jurisdiction to incorporate criminal aspect of it. There are. So, issue of taking somebody to court for stealing money and the rest of them, possibly murder, what, are not covered. But essentially, Nigerian Sharia legal system is more pronounced around the personal laws, inheritance, marriage, custody of children, and the rest of them. And if you ask a Muslim to drop that, where would he go to? for the distribution of the estate of 86, where will you go to? So I think those people that are against Sharia, which to me is hubristic, which to me is just being arrogant, should better learn to understand what is Sharia. And again, I was saying something when he interrupted me. We confuse this idea that Nigeria is a secular country. We have never been secular. And we are not aspiring to be a secular country. We are a multi-religious country. No secular country will have 100 and something days as a religious holiday. No secular country sponsors people to Mecca and Jerusalem. No secular country will ask you to take Quran or the Bible to swear. Secularity, and an offshoot of European Industrial Revolution, was to distance God from state activities. Because religion then, the church was tampering with means of service and production. And then Europe was becoming attractive to the world. And then the church was introducing, that was discouraging investors. And now, the concept, secular. Absence of God in your affairs. And I don't think Nigerians, Nigerians are ready to go for any undertaking that.
Let's go back to what the Americans saying about the practice. Yeah, I mean, about the reasons. I mean, we know that the reason, the main reason is that Christians are being, there's genocide against Christians. Yes. Yeah. So, and then now part of the solutions they want to do is go after the bandits and all that. Yes. But then they have also recently they have shifted the goalpost. Now they're talking about, they're not just talking about the bandits and the pastoralists that are, involved in these activities allegedly, but they're also going after some of the, senior of religion, senior custodians of religion, the Islamic religion, like the Sultan, like even some of the institutions of the religion. Yes. So what can you tell us about this? What's really at play here?
I know it will come to that because Muslims appear to be complacent. We refuse to counter the narrative. And Joseph Goebbels, one of the Hitler's propagandists, said, all repeated lies were the face of truth. Indeed, Christians are killed. So are Muslims killed, in fact, in greater number. But does it commit genocide? No. Legally, no. Because there are constituent ingredients that they have to congregate before the offense of genocide will not be said to be. And if we insist there is genocide in Nigeria, or there is genocide against Christians, there is also genocide against Muslims. There are places where Christians kill Muslims. There are places where Muslims kill Christians.
But have the Muslims
we have seen the IPOB
articulated their positions? The Christians are saying, okay, yes, we are making our case. Yes. We have documented our case.
Yes.
So we
do document your own.
Do your own, so that we can see where.
Yes. And let me say something before I forget it. I will encourage Trump to come with tomahawk and whatever he has against the bandit, against those that are killing people. But it shouldn't be a selective sympathy, because this position of his, if not moderated and stopped, it will trigger in a crisis in this country that we have never seen. Because the reflective effect of it will generate crises that even America will not withstand. But anyway, America, again, is not good in fighting insurgency. In fact, Nigerian military, Nigerian security platform, military and what have you, are better than America in fighting insurgency. If Nigerian soldiers are to be properly equipped, honestly, they will do better. Let me give you an example. America took 20 years in Afghanistan. When they were living, they went with more than 5,000 body bags containing their soldiers. At the end of it all, they fought Taliban and later handed government to Taliban. They went to Iraq, the same thing. America has never won any insurgency war. So if anybody is thinking, or somebody is thinking that America is coming surgically to solve our insurgency problem, we are just playing. They don't have that capacity. They have never succeeded in any of its asymmetric wars. And I challenge anybody to show me one. Iraq, they run away. Libya, they destroy Libya. Today, part of our problem is Libya. After killing Gaddafi. And all purposes of resources. And I gave you what happened in Afghanistan. 20 years they rushed to go out after losing almost everything. More than $3 trillion. More than 5,000 soldiers, excluding contract staff. Today, Taliban are the leaders. But up to today, 15 years after, Nigerian soldiers, they've sacrificed a lot. They have done a lot. Of course, we shouldn't expect victory to come one day. But deliberate steps taken will reduce and eventually will get in there. But I refuse to have a sleepless night because America is coming. They will not come. But they will give us condition that at the end of it all is to their benefits. America, of course, is not coming. So anybody thinking that America is coming to deploy boots on the ground to secure.
Yeah, okay. Well, you talked earlier about the panic,
yes,
stricken, the panic that is,
yes,
prevalent,
yes,
in the government of Nigeria.
Yes.
And of course, we've seen evidence of that.
Yes.
But we also, see that this is tending towards something like a regime change, more or less, because that is the unimplied, the implication of what the Americans are trying to say, because from all indications, the Americans, without saying that, are pushing for a regime change, and the government is looking at it at that possibility. You even had the state Senate president, yes, during the confirmation hearing, yes, of the new defense minister. Yes. Usually if we had not been under threat, yes, of intervention by, yes, Americans, what's likely to happen is to ask him to bow and go.
Yes.
In fact, some of the senators even suggested that.
Yeah.
But he stood up and said, look, we're not going to ask this man to bow and go. Because Trump is on my neck, or on our necks.
I think he must have regretted that now certain remarks. He gave out Nigeria. That all that you are trying to do, not you are doing, you are trying to do, is to appease the anger of America, not Nigerians. It was a terrible statement. And that, again, informs this belief that we are acting under fear. Nigeria need to sit down, deliberately.
But how would we now cope with this threat? Because it appears that the government is truly panicked, and they're taking measures that appear panicky. In fact, they reinforce that panic stations that they're in. So, are we going to continue to? Because right now they are not just looking for a pound of flesh. Yes. They are looking for the blood that goes, yes, with the pound of flesh.
Yes, and if we give them, even if you agree that Shari'a should be dropped, they will be coming up with another item and agenda, because it will look as, look, this is not satisfying what we want. Anything is involved. Because honestly, the policy of this regime that is trying to internalize its operations, they are antithetical to the philosophy of American government. And therefore, the president should expect this kind of behavior.
But do you sense now that the Americans, because earlier on you were talking about the fact that Americans, have never won.
It's historical.
Insurgency. So, having considered that, yes, the Americans may be pressuring the government of Nigeria to implement what they have to do or what they intend to do in Nigeria without necessarily putting boots on ground or even carrying out their threats. So it's like, okay, yeah, Mr. Barrister, I want to come after you, yes, but before I come after you, I want you to do this, and then in the process, the government will implement some of those things that Americans cannot do or will not be able to do, yes, because they even have internal problems, yes, within the military in America, yes, within the political circles in America. So they want the Nigerian government to implement those without even breaking a sweat. Yeah, do you agree to that?
I agree with you. But there are issues that America will ask Nigerian government to do that. Nigerian government knows that this thing, if it is done, it will quicken the dismantling of this country quicker than the attack of America. One of it is Shari'a. One of it is Shari'a.
What has been the reaction of the northern governments? And
But not only northern government. Most of the reactions, in fact, are coming from educated intellectuals from Southwest. Muslims.
Like Murik?
Not only Murik. I've seen a lot of writings. I've seen a lot of positions. And let me say this. Please don't blame America or those people that are Islamophobic in Nigeria. What do we do by way of leadership? Leadership by example. You mentioned the name of Sultan. I know they will come after most of them. But it's their fault. Because when this narration and when these conversations were going on, they refused to promote their own. They refused to have the pictures of Muslims killed in down prayers, 50, 30, 40, Zampara, Katsina, almost on a daily basis. They refuse to show the pictures. Saying,
well, it's the Muslims that are killing the Muslims. So
now, is that it all? No. I know you know what happened in IPOB control, in southeastern state. You know what happened in Benue. You know what happened in Plateau. So, a lot of it.
And this brings me to the statement credited to a Reverend Father in Plateau, in which he said, look, part of the problem that we are facing today is because of the Muslim ticket, and that itself in itself constitutes genocide.
Yes. Do you know why? Because when this idea of Muslim ticket comes up, we refuse to enlighten people. The Nigerian Constitution does not have a place, doesn't say anything, no section of Nigerian Constitution that says a Muslim must pair with a Christian or a Christian must pair with a Muslim. Let me give you two examples. In UPN, Awolowo had a vice president who was an Igbo Christian. In NPP, Ezekwe,
in Second Republic.
In Second Republic, Ezekwe had a Christian vice president, Professor Ishaya Audu, and nobody raised issue because it's not part of the satisfaction of our constitution to have a president. One day we might have a Christian president. The possibility can be there. But, you know, we refuse to educate people that, look, this is not part of the Constitution. And you can see the statement of that Chomo from Plateau State is echoing the sentiment of those, anti-Islamic elements that are... The target is not Shari'a, please. The target is not Shari'a. We should understand this.
So what's the target then? What's the target?
Is issue of religion. When I say religion, understand what I'm talking to you about. That's why this guy brought the issue of Muslim ticket. And has Muslim ticket produced anything unexpected? If anything, I think it appears to be more balancing in favor of the Christians.
No, but the Reverend who made that accusation says it's because you have the Muslim as a president and vice president is a Muslim, so that is why the bandits and the insurgency has become emboldened. But that they have their people in government, the two most important positions in government in Nigeria, so they're emboldened to go ahead and do that, and that sort of precipitates the genocide.
But the president and the vice president don't pick guns and go to the bushes and fight. The security platforms are largely managed and controlled by Christian leadership. So, added to it, we now have a minister, a full minister, a Christian from Southern Kaduna, which to me is a very good balancing. We should remove all these comedians and make sure we put people that will address this matter. If I might even ask, the state minister should also follow suit. Get somebody, I don't care whether it's a Christian or a Muslim, get a retired military officer to take that position too. Because we are in an emergency situation. We shouldn't entertain this luxury of paying people and giving appointment on platter of gold. No. I suggest that the state minister in the Ministry of Defense two should be relieved or should be deployed to another place, so that we would have another military officer, retired, particularly retired, with good knowledge of asymmetric war.
But you
if you like go and bring anybody, he can be a Christian, he can be a Muslim. What we want is to fight this war.
But do you see a sense of seriousness in all this, facing up to the insurgency and insecurity, when the government, or at least, or what we see today that is of priority to the government and the party in power, is to distribute vehicles? So are we serious? Does it look, would this look to the Americans that we're really serious, because we're looking for serious efforts towards coping, facing the insurgency on one hand, and then on the other hand, we see an elaborate process, elaborate program of giving out vehicles, and also following that up in states. Are we really interested in this thing?
We have we've gotten ourselves in a situation that I don't know of any proverb that would really explain it more than Hausa proverb that says, "Gudu de sosa duwawu." So I wouldn't want to interpret it anyway, but I think there are some.
Can you at least, for the benefit of our listeners?
When somebody is supposed to, when you are running and at the same time you are scratching your back, how can you run? So we should stop talking about distribution of cars. We should start distributing armament to the military. We should go on a wild purchase of modern military hardware. We should go for recruitment. In fact, if we have reserve, we should recall our reserve. And I want the position of Mr. President's declaration of state of emergency to elicit some buy actions. It's not just about deployment of money. Honestly, money distributed, if they are not properly channeled, audited, and taking proper cognizance of where they are going to, they might turn out to be our albatross.
The military has called a halt.
Yes.
To people trying to
go on holiday,
resign or leave the military.
Yes.
Because of the situation. Yes. Isn't that enough? Or
it's not enough. We have fantastic retired military officers. Why can't we learn from US and Israel?
And also freed the police. The president has freed the police.
Yes.
About 100,000 policemen. Yes. From so-called VIPs, and said, look, we need to deploy this.
And one thing that people don't understand and realize, this idea of Mr. President has dual positive reactions. First, if the executive, the VIPs, remove of that luxury of, litany of security around them, they will feel the threat. And that will do what? Will force them to act and to assist the president. So, if people don't understand, psychologically, they are now on their feet. Don't forget, sometimes there was, you see them with 10 police, mobile police, and what have you. Now, without them, they might possibly begin to restrict their movement.
But also, some people have called attention to the fact that the policy has not been evenly applied. For instance, yes, Mr. President has done that. People have praised him for that. But there's also, seeing that it's his own wife, for instance, still runs around with a retinue of security policemen, his children to have policemen, and some governors too. So how really are we serious about this this measure?
Yes. In leadership, there are what we call important assets. You don't play with them, because if they are not properly attended to, government would have the government will not be stable enough to dispense administration, even in America. So, of course, we should expect our president's wife to have a litany of security, and the president and the governors. Don't forget, in our Constitution, 308 immunity clause is there to provide protection to a certain number of officers, so that they will have mental stability to do what?
But the vice president, the former vice president, for instance, has been affected, and he is covered in that constitutional provision. So why that? Maybe
they reduce, but not totally removing the security. They cannot do that because it's within our administrative structure. They cannot do that. But maybe they might reduce the number of them. And again, like I said, we have pool to draw from. retired military officers. Look at, largely on into political calculations, a lot of military officers were retired, able, strong, not tired. So is the same problem with the police. So the same problem with the DSS. Instead of this massive recruitment, I think, yes, we should do recruitment, but we should deploy and mobilize these retired officers. They have the experience. You don't spend much to drive them to the field. And let me say this before my time is run out. We should thank our security, particularly the military. They are making sacrifices. They are making enormous sacrifices for the country to survive. And whenever I hear people insulting them, it hurts me. What else do you want them to give for your survival? They've given out their lives. Most of them left their families for 2, 3, 4 years. What else are we expecting them for? They are performing better than American soldiers.
Well, this brings me to this question. Now, with the threat of the Americans against us, yeah, it's an ever-present threat because our government is panicked. We are also panicked. And with good reasons, because
Ilyasu,
the Americans
share your sentiment, honestly.
No. Well, you've seen what they've done in the Caribbean, yes, on their way to Venezuela.
Yes.
And, Americans, we have a government in America, yes, now that is not amenable to reason.
Yes.
They just want to have their way,
yes,
whether we like it, yes, or not. But what we're saying is, looking at our sovereignty, because one of the issues we're talking about here is about sovereignty.
Yes.
How far can we go to agree to the demands of the Americans, and how far can we tell Americans, hey, thus far, please,
yes,
we are not going. I want you to, because as, yes, a constitutional lawyer,
yes,
this is something that, yes, you have to
yes,
have to cope with. You have, yes, to tell us.
Yes. You see, well, I agree with you. We are a sovereign nation. But sovereignty within the ambit of international law has been compromised. International law is on trial today in the world. So don't get carried away because of the cover of the immunity of your sovereignty. Just like you said, we have a lunatic in America as a president. So anything can happen, but I'm telling you, he's not going to mobilize any military to Nigeria. But anyway, if at all we want to go in for some of those things that they are asking us to do, we should also come with our own basket, full of our own demands. It's about negotiation. You want us to do that? Yes, we can do it.
Sort of quid pro quo.
Yes, exactly.
Quid pro quo,
yes,
something for something.
Yes, something for something. But what we want more from you is this, your capacity and knowledge in intelligence for us to pick these people. And if you can pick them for us, please, we thank you. I am not saying that America shouldn't assist in the arrest of this drip. But what I'm saying is that America shouldn't think of drafting any American to our soil, even though I know they will not. The Venezuelan issue that you just brought in, at the end of it all, after shaking the guy, they are now under the table discussing what to do. It's about oil. It's about oil. Transactional leader. We have never seen, transitional leader, far right supremacist like Trump. But I think he's getting himself way domestically bogged down. So he has a lot on his table.
So, but then you can also see the same parallel in Nigeria, as they are, shouting and making noise, threatening the Venezuelans. They are also making deals under the table.
Under the table.
But then the same things also, they're also making the same noises in Nigeria.
Yes.
They're also saying, look, let's sit down and talk. And I believe that's, part of what they're trying to do.
Please give me a second to say something.
Okay, yes.
If Trump is really out there to protect Christians, he couldn't have been providing Israel all armament to destroy the history of Christianity, to destroy Christians in the cradle of Christianity. Venezuela is 99% Catholics, and he's going to attack them. Meanwhile, he's coming to Nigeria to protect Christians in court.
So different strokes for different folks.
So no, the contradictions are obvious there. So don't even, my friend, go and have a good sleep with fine dream. America is not going to march anybody into Nigeria to fight for any religion. They will not. They are wiser than that.
Okay, Barrister Yusuf, It's a pleasure having you on this Sunday Politics. We hope to have you some other time.
Thank you.
And viewers, that's a wrap-up on this week's edition of Sunday Politics. Daily Politics returns tomorrow. On behalf of the team, I'm Ilyasu Gadu. Bye for now.